something unusual is unfolding within the Catholic Church in Germany. Just a few weeks into the papacy of Pope Leo, media connected to the German bishops have begun shaping a public image of him. They are presenting him as a calm and moderate leader, someone who avoids dramatic changes and prefers a more balanced approach to governance. This portrayal has been repeated across various news outlets and interviews, building a consistent narrative about the Pope's character and leadership style. However, it is still early in his pontificate, only 6 weeks since his election, making it difficult to draw clear conclusions about his direction. Some individuals within the Church, including those who claim to have known him personally, are offering differing perspectives. While official statements describe him as moderate, others suggest he may be more aligned with past leadership styles, which lean towards significant reforms. These contrasting views reflect a broader trend in the Church today, where many groups are eager to define the Pope according to their own expectations or hopes. Amid this atmosphere, the German bishops have taken a striking position. Despite portraying Pope Leo as a moderate, they have announced their intention to resist certain aspects of his leadership, just as they say they have done with previous popes since the time of Pius. According to some reports, they believe the Church needs deep, transformative change, and they see themselves as the ones who must lead that effort. This position has sparked debate, as it raises concerns about unity and obedience within the global Church. To support their stance, the bishops have pointed to various media sources, including their official news outlet. One article featured comments from an Augustinian monk named Father Dominic. He described Pope Leo as someone who listens attentively, speaks kindly, and interacts with people in a respectful and caring way. According to Father Dominic, the Pope is not a revolutionary figure, but a man who approaches situations with diplomacy and compassion. This was evident, he noted, during a visit to their convent in Vienna, where the Pope took time to speak with the faithful and stayed longer than expected to be with the people. This kind of testimony paints a picture of a gentle and approachable Pope. But when placed alongside the larger media narrative in Germany, it becomes part of a broader strategy, one that seems to define Pope Leo in a very specific light. Whether that image reflects the full truth or not remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that the conversation about his leadership has only just begun. During an interview, Father Dominic, an Augustinian monk, shared a personal account of his encounter with Pope Leo, back when he was still a cardinal. He recalled a visit the future pope made to their convent in Vienna in November of the previous year. After celebrating the liturgy, Cardinal Leo did not leave immediately. Instead, he stayed with the people, took time to speak with them, listened to their concerns, and tried to connect personally. Father Dominic noted that this behavior was not unusual for him. It was consistent with how he had always interacted with others. He also described the Pope's first public address following his election. According to him, Pope Leo appeared deeply moved by the people who gathered to see him. At one point, it seemed as though he was holding back tears, touched by the joy and warmth expressed by those present. Father Dominic believed that this was a clear sign of how seriously the Pope takes his responsibility to serve the Church, and how personally he feels the weight of the moment. He expressed confidence that Pope Leo would do his best to face today's challenges with honesty and care. When some describe Pope Leo as a moderate, what they often mean is that he has a calm and respectful tone in how he speaks and interacts with others. Unlike his predecessor, Pope Francis, who is known for using strong words to criticize certain groups or behaviors within the Church, Pope Leo has taken a different approach. For example, in a recent message to priests, he focused on thanking them for their service and showing appreciation for their dedication, rather than offering corrections or sharp remarks. This difference in communication style has been noted by many observers. Pope Leo appears to favor encouragement over confrontation and dialogue over division. Still, it is important to remember that this does not tell us everything about his leadership. His deeper views on church governance and theology will become clearer over time. When it comes to decisions already made during his short time in office, some choices have sparked questions. Among them is the case of Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, who continues to serve as head of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith. Earlier rumors suggested that Pope Leo might remove him from the role, but no official statement or confirmation ever came from the Vatican. As of now, Cardinal Fernandez remains in his position. Whether or not that will change is something many are watching closely, and any developments are expected to become clearer by the end of the summer. While some are emphasizing Pope Leo's calm and moderate tone, this portrayal has not been welcomed by everyone. In particular, certain voices within the Church in Germany appear uneasy with this image. Among them are several leading figures who have long advocated for dramatic changes within Church teaching and structure. One article published on a Catholic news platform covering Germany and Austria highlighted the reaction of Cardinal Walter Kasper. The headline referred to Pope Leo as a man of the middle, suggesting that the new pope is someone who doesn't fall clearly into either conservative or progressive camps. According to the article, Cardinal Kasper views this as a strength, something that made Pope Leo an appealing choice to many during the recent conclave. Cardinal Kasper noted that the Pope's ability to stay centered and balanced allowed him to gain support from both sides within the College of Cardinals. In a recent interview, he explained that this quality could help bring greater unity to the Church, especially at a time when deep divisions are widely felt. His comments point to growing concern within the Vatican about the separation between different theological and pastoral approaches across the global Church. Cardinal Kasper has served in several key positions during his career, including as president of the Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity and as bishop of the Diocese of Rottenburg-Stuttgart in southern Germany. He emphasized that Pope Leo has a unique ability to reconcile opposing sides and bring people together, a role closely tied to the Pope's mission to foster unity within the Church. He expressed hope that this gift for reconciliation would be central to Pope Leo's leadership, especially as tensions remain high on various issues around the world. According to Kasper, the new pope also seems comfortable in today's digital age and can communicate effectively, both in person and through modern platforms. These qualities, he suggested, may help him respond to the complex challenges facing the Church today. According to Cardinal Kasper, Pope Leo may be the right leader for this moment in history. He described the new pope as someone capable of helping the Church heal its divisions and restore unity. Kasper also noted that Pope Leo is very familiar with modern life. Not only does he enjoy everyday activities like driving, but he's also comfortable with technology and digital communication. These traits, he suggested, could help him connect with people across different generations and cultures. Kasper went on to compare Pope Leo to his predecessor, Pope Francis. He explained that Francis had a different style of leadership, more spontaneous and personal. In contrast, Pope Leo tends to work in a more organized and collaborative way, often relying on teamwork and planning. This difference in approach, according to Kasper, could shape how the new pope manages the responsibilities of the Vatican and its various departments. He also mentioned that Francis had past difficulties with the Roman Curia, influenced by his experiences as Archbishop in Buenos Aires. While some have taken Kasper's comments as a sign of optimism, others are watching developments with caution. What's clear is that the German bishops have begun to voice their opposition to Pope Leo's leadership, even though his papacy is still in its early stages. According to multiple reports, they have stated publicly that they intend to resist him, just as they have done with several popes in the past, going back to the era of World War II. This pattern of resistance from the German hierarchy has drawn attention and criticism. After the war, some German clergy expressed regret over their past actions and began to advocate for major reforms in the Church. Many scholars believe that this shift played a significant role in shaping later Church developments, including those at the Second Vatican Council. Since then, Germany has often been seen as a center of theological change, sometimes welcomed but frequently debated. Recently, one German theologian addressed the situation directly in an article that questioned why every recent pope seems to face strong disapproval from parts of the German Church. The article suggested that, based on Pope Leo's current positions and personality, the Church in Germany should prepare for what could be 2 decades of disagreement or conflict. Though the future remains uncertain, the early signs point to a continuing divide between the Vatican and the leadership of the German bishops. Some have suggested that Pope Leo could lead the Church for many years, possibly even 2 decades. This idea is since he is still relatively young for a pope, turning 70 later this year. While he appears to be in good health, it's important to remember that predicting the length of a papacy is never certain. His future as a leader will depend not only on time, but also on how he responds to the many challenges ahead. Meanwhile, a theologian named Bernhard Muehr, writing for a Catholic news outlet in Germany and Austria, offered strong criticism of the current attitude among the German bishops. In his post titled Leo Deliver, he reflected on the initial enthusiasm that followed Pope Leo's election. But he warned that after this hopeful beginning, the Pope would now need to show clearly where he stands. According to Muehr, the German bishops often show disappointment with nearly every pope, no matter their background or approach. He listed a series of past popes, noting how the German Church has repeatedly clashed with the Vatican. He pointed out that Pope Francis was accused by some in Germany of allowing the Church there to weaken. Before him, Pope Benedict XVI, who was German himself, revealed what Muehr called the theological poverty of his homeland. St. John Paul II, according to Muehr, challenged the cultural norms in Germany, especially on matters of morality and the body. Even John Paul I, who died just a month into his papacy, was not around long enough to change the direction of German opinion. He continued by mentioning Pope Paul VI, known for Humani Vitae, a document on the sanctity of life and family, which faced strong resistance in Germany. Muehr even referenced Pope John XXIII, often seen as a symbol of openness and reform, saying that if more people had read his spiritual writings, they might have a different understanding of his devotion. His overall point was that the German bishops have not been easily satisfied with any pope in recent memory, often expecting even greater changes than what were offered. In light of this history, Muehr argued that the Church in Germany has frequently taken a different path from Rome, especially after World War II. Many of the changes and theological movements that shaped the Church in the second half of the 20th century came from German thinkers and institutions. While these efforts were sometimes seen as progressive, they also led to tension with more traditional voices. Today, the German bishops have signaled their intention to continue promoting their own vision for the Church, known as the Synodal Way. This effort includes major proposals for change, such as altering how bishops are chosen, how priests are formed in seminaries, and who holds authority in local dioceses. These are not small adjustments, they represent a significant shift in how the Church would function in practice. And for now, it appears the German leadership is determined to move forward, whether there is full agreement from Rome. One of the most debated parts of the German Synodal Way involves the role of leadership within the Church. Some of the proposals would shift decision-making authority away from bishops and toward lay-led councils. In this model, priests and bishops would primarily focus on celebrating the sacraments, while key administrative and pastoral responsibilities could be taken on by laypeople. These proposals would mark a significant change in how the Church is governed, especially at the local parish and diocesan level. In addition to leadership changes, the German process has also proposed reforms regarding who is allowed to preach during Mass. Some resolutions support the idea of allowing women to deliver homilies and proclaim the gospel during liturgical celebrations, roles that are currently reserved for ordained clergy. These and other suggestions, including a call to reconsider Church teachings on sexual morality, have been discussed and passed during synodal sessions in Germany. At the time, the Vatican's response under Pope Francis was not a direct rejection. Instead, it was a cautionary note, encouraging the German bishops to proceed slowly and in unity with the global Church. But in the weeks following the election of Pope Leo, some leaders in Germany have continued to express their intention to move forward independently. This has led to renewed criticism, including from theologians in Germany who question whether such an approach is appropriate or sustainable. A recent article from an official church news platform in Germany addressed this very issue. It focused on the topic of women in the Church, highlighting how despite many women holding important roles, the Church is still often seen as male-dominated. The article included reflections from a theologian who pointed out what she described as signs of inequality. She gave examples such as separate restrooms near the altar that are only for men, or storage spaces in sacristies meant only for priests. These, she said, are symbols of deeper issues about visibility and access. According to her, women may often organize and assist in church life, but men are still the ones who celebrate, speak, and make key decisions. She argued that this dynamic is rarely written in official church teaching, but is often experienced in everyday practice. To challenge this, groups like the German Catholic Women's Association have organized initiatives such as Women Preachers' Day, where women are invited to speak from the pulpit as a public sign of shared dignity and active participation. These actions are meant to express not only a call for equality, but also a shift in how leadership and service are understood within the church. Supporters of the initiative say that proclaiming the gospel should not depend on clerical status, but on a willingness to serve, to teach, and to include others. They believe that opening these roles would create a more welcoming and representative church. This approach reflects a broader framework that some have described as a focus on power structures in the church. It's a way of looking at church life that seeks to understand who holds influence, who is visible, and who is allowed to participate. Some observers have noted that this framework draws from ideas that are also used in modern social theory, which tries to identify imbalances of power in different institutions. While these ideas have sparked interest in some parts of the church, they have also raised questions about whether such models align with traditional Catholic teaching. The Global Synod on Synodality has also explored similar themes, including the role of listening, inclusion, and shared responsibility, but opinions differ on how far these changes should go. Some observers have noted that many of the recent discussions within parts of the church, especially in Germany, are shaped by a way of thinking focused on systems of power and influence. This approach looks at structures, leadership, and roles through the lens of who holds authority and who is excluded from it. While examining how power works can be helpful in certain contexts, critics point out that when it becomes the only focus, it can lead to confusion about the church's mission and teachings. This type of analysis is often used in modern academic and social movements, where people study the differences between individuals and groups, whether based on gender, class, age, or position in society. The concern is that this same method is now being applied to church structures, turning spiritual questions into political ones. Some church leaders believe this shift has contributed to growing divisions, especially when traditional teachings are re-examined through modern ideological filters. In the lead-up to the last papal conclave, many within the German church were moving quickly, promoting changes they felt were necessary. After the conclave concluded and Pope Leo was elected, some reports described disappointment among the German bishops. It seemed that they had hoped for a different outcome, one that aligned more closely with the reforms they were proposing. The ongoing tension appears to center around core questions. Who holds authority in the church? Who may speak during the liturgy? How should church teachings be interpreted in today's world? Some groups have suggested that unless these things are redefined, they do not feel fully included. Others argue that the church already provides a place for everyone, but within a structure that is spiritual in nature and built on long-standing traditions. There are also discussions among some historians and theologians about how past movements have influenced current thinking. A few compare modern reform efforts to earlier theories, such as the idea that the church changed dramatically after the Roman Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity. According to this view, early simplicity was replaced by more formal structures and rituals, and what followed was a long period of institutional control. This perspective is debated and not supported by all scholars, but it continues to influence certain conversations about reform. In modern times, some groups have expressed a desire to return to what they see as the original ways of the early church. They often cite early Christian writings to support their proposals. However, critics say these references are sometimes taken out of context or misunderstood. For example, one church writer from the early centuries once described receiving the Eucharist in the hand, but later guidance from church leaders discouraged this practice. Over time, the church developed clearer teachings to preserve both reverence and unity. Many reform-minded thinkers today point to events like the Second Vatican Council as moments of renewal. They believe that leaders during that time, including key figures in theology and liturgy, helped to revive a more authentic expression of the faith. Supporters of these ideas often suggest that the Church is still in the process of rediscovering its earliest roots. As for Pope Leo, views remain mixed. Some who knew him before his election describe him as more progressive in style, while others insist he is firmly traditional. With only 6 weeks in office, it is still too early to define his papacy in one direction or the other. Much will depend on the decisions he makes in the months ahead, and how he chooses to respond to the many voices shaping the Church's future. As of now, Pope Leo has only been in office for 6 weeks. Many are still waiting to see what direction he will take, especially through his upcoming appointments and decisions. These will likely offer a clearer picture of his leadership style and priorities. In the meantime, discussions within the Church continue, and new developments are expected that may further clarify the challenges ahead. One of the most pressing questions involves the German synodal way. The bishops of Germany have been clear in their call for major reforms, and they continue to present Pope Leo as a moderate figure. In their view, the Church doesn't need moderation, it needs bold and revolutionary change. Because of this, they are pushing forward with their own proposals, which include restructuring leadership roles, rethinking liturgical participation, and revisiting moral teachings. At the same time, Pope Leo has emphasized unity more frequently than even his predecessor, Pope Francis, who often spoke of it during his pontificate. From the moment he appeared on the balcony after his election, Pope Leo has made unity a central theme. In a deeply divided Church, maintaining unity may require a careful and balanced approach. But this also raises a crucial test. Can the Pope remain a figure of unity while still addressing the serious tensions caused by the reforms proposed in Germany? Many believe this moment will define his leadership. The German synodal way has introduced some of the most far-reaching reform proposals seen in recent years. In comparison, the broader global synod on synodality seems much more cautious and moderate. As discussions continue, observers are watching closely to see how Pope Leo will respond, especially when faced with clear disagreements about doctrine and authority. In this time of uncertainty, many are calling for prayer for the Church, for unity, for wisdom, and for peace. It's important to remember that these conversations are not just about policies or positions, but about people. Behind every headline and statement are individuals seeking to serve the Church as they understand it. For that reason, even amid disagreement, the call to charity remains. Historically, the German Church has undergone great change, especially after World War II. While none of today's bishops were active during the war itself, many were shaped by teachers and mentors who lived through those difficult times. The trauma of that period had a deep impact on German society, and it may help explain why so many reform movements later took root in that part of the world. The influence of German theology and thought continues to shape debates within the wider Church today. As this chapter unfolds, much remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the global Church is at a crossroads. With strong voices on all sides, the future depends on the choices made by its leaders, the prayers of its faithful, and a shared commitment to truth and unity. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.